All right, welcome back, ladies and gents, to another covered game of the TTS MCP League. This is Season 9, playoff rounds. We've got Reath versus Hellcannon. The roll-up has been put through. Hellcannon has picked up priority picking his secures. So we've got intrusions and cubes. Phil noted for being quite the CS connoisseur, and Hellcannon noted for coming through Swiss with his Sentinels and has brought Sentinels along. The boys have gotten started a bit earlier than I could jump on the stream, which is totally fine. But Phil has brought along his Malkith Cabal list, and Hellcannon sticking with his Sentinels. So it'll be interesting to see where they land with their roster construction. I do have someone coming along a little bit later to help me out with some co-streaming, just to keep me on the straight and narrow, and I'm sure he'll be along in no time. Ah, yeah, perfect. He's just messaged me. He'll be here in like 1 or 2 minutes, which is great. So the gents are just picked their map, and we're just waiting on them to get some squad selection going. Phil just reminding me to post a link. It's been so long since I've done all this. So rusty. I apologize to everyone. Oh, sometimes you just get so caught up with all these other things in your life, you forget to do all the setup stuff. So I do apologize. We'll definitely endeavor to make sure the streaming and all the setup stuff is done prior. But yes, looking forward to this game. Phil with his Malkith Cabal roster into some Sentinels. I haven't actually seen too much Sentinel play. Interested to see that obviously like Malkith having the ability to throw size 5s with his ferocity. I'm interested to see what Hellcannon's got teched into his roster to potentially mitigate this. But overhearing their conversation before, Hellcannon's done very well with these Sentinels. Obviously new to the game. Got some juicy size 3s and a 4. And going to be quite a fighty game, I imagine, with the C shape for secures. 8 points up for grab each turn though, so be interested to see how quick this one turns over. And with Phil with the option to pick threat, curious if he would like to opt for 19 to have more tools, or if you'll go 17. Oh, and we've got the wonderful Theo coming in as well to help me call the game.
G'day, mate. How's it going?
Yeah, good mate. How are you?
Yeah, very good.
The boys have opted to get started early, so I didn't want to be an
Oh,
inconvenience of. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So are we already
We're in. We're in and
oh,
hot,
are we
baby.
live at the moment?
We are live.
Oh wow, you've really dumped me in it then, haven't you? Wow, I've got
Mate,
to
it
got to
wasn't
think on my
me. It
feet
was
now.
all of
No,
them. No, but as I said, I didn't want to be an inconvenience to the players and their organisation. So
no, that's great.
yeah.
So talk me through where we're at for those who are coming late, and do you want to chuck up your streamer view as well?
Oh yes, good call. Oh my god, it's been so
So
long.
who's won prior?
So Hellcannon and Reath have obviously rolled off. Hellcannon's picked up Prime and picked his secures.
Yep.
I'll just tuck on the streamer view. There we are. And
So
we've
I'm really
landed.
excited to see what Hellcannon's bringing. Have we determined whether he's bringing what he was sort of running in the Swiss rounds yet?
He has. He's basically bringing a very similar version to his Sentinels from the other conversation I was overhearing.
Oh, this is really good though, because I'm look. Hellcannon's been around for a while. He's a very, very good player, and I don't think we've seen a lot of Sentinels at a top level. So I'm actually got an interest. I'd love to put Sentinels on the table. I'm really interested to see what he's built. So I'll have to check out the start of the stream and see his list.
And we've landed on intrusions and cube. I didn't get to catch what threat they're at, but obviously with Phil with choice, I'd be interested to see if he chooses 17 or 19, considering he's bringing the pain train with Malkith Cabal.
Yeah, and look, I've played a little bit with Sentinels as well, and I find that they can sometimes struggle at the lower points. Certainly, 14 is horrible for them in many ways. But I don't know, without seeing the lists, I don't know whether Phil will have thought 17 is not good. Most people can kind of build for 17, can't they?
You'd like to think so, considering it's the most the most often threat to come up in the missions.
And I guess if you're looking at Sentinels, you're looking, there's a 5 threat leader. Cassie's quite good, and the Mark IV is 4. So you can look at a 14 or a 13-point core for 3 wide. It gives you plenty of building for 17 or 19. It just depends what you want to throw in there, and I'm very interested to see what you then throw into those Sentinels and Cassie to try to overcome. They've got some really good toolkit, but they've got some real limitations as well, and it's about which one do you sort of try to compensate for.
Now, for someone that's been running Sentinels, have you had much of a chance to play into Malkith, given his ability to throw the size 5 characters around with his ferocity?
Look, I did have I haven't played a lot of Sentinels, but I have played a game recently into Malekith, and it was pretty rough. It was pretty bad because you know Malekith seems to like anyone who's got fairly limited defenses, but he just eats big health pools really quickly and powers himself up. But I would say if you do get a shot at Malekith, they hit surprisingly hard. Most of them are building up to a 7 dice builder if they want, or an 8 dice spender, and just that 1 extra dice as well for the Sentinel Prime. Can't use the rerolls, but it's really strong. And those 3 conditions they're handing out in the spenders, all of them are ones that Malekith hates. It's shock, slow, and incinerate. So priority control becomes really important. But yeah, his throws and repositions are really nasty, and the combo to watch for to isolate the Sentinel from your defensive rerolls is the Malekith throw followed by Phantasmagora to really move that Sentinel with its big base right towards your killy lines.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because Hellcannon, before I left the chat, was mentioning that prior to securing his position during his Swiss games, he had 2 games back to back where he was playing into a Hulk, and he managed to do something like 10 to 11 damage with each of his Sentinel attacks. Basically, in one activation, was able to wipe him off the board. So, I'm not sure if that was hot dice or just the ability to use that primed rerolls to secure that damage through. But he's been having such a great time from what I overheard, with being able to pump out a lot more damage on these E shapes that he's been bringing.
Yeah, and it's E's and C's, and I think they like to play on a single axis. It doesn't matter if it's really horizontal or vertical. My thought, though, is that they control the secures really well with those web lines, and so I don't think Demons Downtown suits them because most of the time you're going to try to pull people off the points, which means really the most likely to be exposed to the incinerators yourself. So I think they don't particularly like Demons Downtown, although they probably hate it, but they do like to play on anything that's a single axis. You don't want to be playing across a D. Even to a certain extent, Terrigen Mists and Mayor Fisk can be really difficult for them because if they do get isolated on one flank, it's really hard to get your big bots across. So I think that's a limitation. The other thing I've noticed with them is it's a bit different to running Hulk, who's also the big base with the small move, because Hulk, you've got a couple of things to measure. Your opponent can measure the gamma leap, but there's a second measurement tool which is the base size, and so that's always a bit of a guesstimate. But I found that a canny opponent, wherever I put that Sentinel, they're just immediately popping out a range 4 ruler, and they know that's exactly where they can stand to take an action off me to effectively auto stagger me.
All right, well, here comes our squad selection. They have picked 19.
Yep. And I can see on Reath's side, we've got a Hulk there. I can see a 20 health, and he's got something with 10 health, which looks like a Malekith, I suspect.
I'll just
And then
swivel
two
over to just
fives.
reflect that. So I think looking at Phil, we've got our Zemo, Mystique, Hulk, and of course the big bad kitty. And we've got some Dark Rain, some Follow Me, some Patch Up, Mission Objective, and Deception.
Yep. Probably no surprises with any of those cards. What have we
And
got
did you
over
want, and
here?
being the Sentinel connoisseur, how about you walk us through what Hellcannon's
I
brought?
think a handful of games doesn't make me an expert, but look, I've got a little bit of a clarity problem on the screen, but I can see it's Sentinel Prime and 2 Sentinel Mark IVs. Bucky, which I think is a really interesting choice, and Hood. Hood is an obvious pick for Sentinels because he gives that heal with no downside to most of them. And Bucky's little Hydra hop is obviously much more effective on those big bases. And I wonder if Medusa might be making appearances in the Sentinel roster for the same reason. I can't read those cards at all, though, mate.
Oh no, my apologies. So we've got Smash, Scrap Metal, Patch Up, um, Online and Operational, and Brace for Impact. Apologies, I'm not too
No,
familiar with
that's
the
okay.
cards, so let's have a
So
look.
online and operational will allow the Sentinel Prime to flip an injured Sentinel back to the right side. It is not during Sentinel Prime's activation, though, as well. So you can actually do it during the Sentinel's activation. They drop their objective token and then pick it up again, which is interesting. And then Scrap Metal is the one that explodes when a piece gets KO'd. So you roll 5 dice and it does 1 damage for each success to everybody within about 2. So you can nail several low health characters with a decent roll just as you explode. If you're going to go down, you go down in flames.
Nice. Oh, I've noticed that they've got the 2D models still for these Sentinels. But
They
just
do.
what I might do is just confirm which one is the Prime. Oh yes, yeah, Prime is over here. Oh no.
Yeah, that looks like the normal Sentinel and then Prime in the middle.
Yeah, cool.
The big trick is going to be identifying which Sentinel is which, because I think he's got 2 Sentinels as well as Prime. So let's just have a look at the a bit more of an angle, Corey, and we'll have a look at seeing how this is spread out. I can see a bit of a gap between Malekith and Hulk. I suspect Hulk might want to get some of those larger terrain pieces off the table as quick as possible, because I tell you what, smash onto a Sentinels builder could be a lot of dice.
Absolutely.
It's an 11 dice builder.
Yeah, no wonder he's been doing so much damage to the Hulk. Now, with Hellcannon with priority on cubes, he'd obviously have to have a plan in regards to who he wants to come pick up the Sentinel. Do you think he's going to, with the threat of deception, I know their Sentinels are still short movers, are we going to see Prime activate first, walk up and pick up?
I genuinely don't know. He'd be hesitant to. Yeah, it's really tricky. I mean, I've always found that sort of jostling for the center point can be a double-edged sword. It does expose him to a lot of reposition, as you mentioned, deception, which is a small move, but there's also obviously a ferocity charge and a phantasmagoria on the table. So there is a lot of things that can move the Sentinels. Now, it's worth noting they can't be pushed by enemy mystic superpowers or mystic attacks or superpowers. They can't be pushed or placed, but they can be thrown and they can be moved by tactics cards. So Hulk might have a hard time. He can't pick one up at size 5, but he'll still do a lot of control with the other pieces. He'll take away opportunities to heal potentially with Hood or Rapid Fire. But the reposition is definitely going to come on that sort of centre right for Reath with Malekith and Mystique there.
Now, just let everyone know we are playing with clocks, 60 minutes each. This will be
Yep.
for the play-in rounds and for the final rounds as well.
It looks like We're seeing some measuring as to whether Bucky might be able to climb on top of that piece of scenery up at the north of the screen.
Now, a conversation that's happening quite a lot is this understanding of the midline area and how dangerous it is with the presence of Malkith and Mystique and other things like that. So a lot of people tend to baking in essentially options like your Toad and your Eyes on the Prize and your Steve Avengers ability to move forward with someone like an Ancient One to be able to pick up and retreat. Interesting to see that Hellcannon has chosen not to do that. Perhaps he's just waiting for Phil, with less activations to come, pick up the cube and potentially retaliate with his own.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Look, this has been a play style that's been around for a little while, and I think probably doesn't get as much attention. I think people are more willing to attend to some really strong pieces and complain about a strong piece than a really strong play style. And the centre line chicken game has been here since the very start. Phil and a couple of other players are real experts at exploiting a misplay early on around that centre line. So, Hellcannon is not likely to make that mistake as easily as some, but it's a game of chicken at this point. He knows he can go last and grab the middle, and Phil knows that as well. So, if Phil lets him do it, is that setting Phil up for next turn? Maybe Phil will just get himself ready for the next round. But at the same time, even going last and grabbing that centre one, you still then have the opportunity to potentially get several victory points down from those 3 centre line secures as well. So I think it's a real game of chicken, a real cagey opening, I suspect, to work out how Hellcannon wants to play it.
We're seeing Zemo being that workhorse that he classically is, picking up that cube and securing that far right intrusion. So with this map, I think the short move of the Sentinels is certainly remedied by the fact that they can teleport through. There's not too much healing coming out. Oh, actually, I apologize. There is plenty of healing coming out with Patch Up and Hood, which is great to mitigate all the stuff that's coming through. So I imagine Hellcannon, with the addition of Smash and the shape, he's looking to do some damage. But there stands between him and victory with a 20-point health Hulk, but he's done it before.
I think he'd back himself to get Hulk, especially with Smash in the roster. It's interesting, Zemo up on that top flank. I don't know. I mean, you got to go there with somebody, right? And if it's Mystique, it takes a deception off the table. But Zemo up there, he's now, if he teleports, he's going to drop his objective. If he stays up there, he's going to secure that point, but it's taking that reroll that he's so famous for out of the game a little bit, because he's going to be further away from people if, as I guess we can see with the deployment, if Hellcannon sticks to his right flank a bit more. But you still take that, right? When you take getting 2 points a turn.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a 3-threat securing 2 points a turn sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah. So Hellcannon's measuring out. He is worried about Mystique's deception, but it's interesting. He's measured out one move for Mystique, and I wonder if he thinks there's a tactical disadvantage of moving Mystique twice to pull off a deception.
I haven't done too many of the measurements, but I'm curious because I know with Malkith in the position that he's in right now, if anyone's to be pulled with deception, even on this D shape, he should still be able to potentially get a double attack into him. But I'm not too sure with the short move and the large base if that's going to happen. That's something I'm not familiar with.
No, I haven't measured that out either, actually. It's so crucial with Malekith. His maneuverability is so strong, but you can still easily effectively stagger him by making him spend just the ferocity for a round. And those movement shenanigans that are out there, deceptions, a Hulk throw, to get him getting 2 attacks as early in the game as possible, is just, I think, a really crucial part of playing him. Phil won't be shy, though, to use Malekith just to attack someone and throw them off a point, and give them plenty of work to do, especially if he feels that'll put them out of range of that range 3 attack, or if he's got priority for the next turn and can go again and keep Malekith safe, he'll be quite happy just to say, I'll have a point, thanks. So Hulk taking the cube, probably pretty reasonable. So those pulls, those web lines, for want of a better term, will be online from turn 2. And Phil's aware of that, and he's trying to, obviously, he's saying, yeah, you can get a shot at me, but it's only going to be one. Or when he's positioning to throw something.
Yeah, right. Interesting him
Just
trying to get some damage in. Yes, get the work started.
Geez, they're rolling quick. I do appreciate their speed of play.
Wow, and sneaks through that 3 damage. No defensive rolls at all. Ouch.
So they're interesting. That was on. Is that on Prime? No, Prime's just not at the top. That's all. Interesting stat line on them. 3-4-4. Again, just really capturing beautifully, I think, the theme of them from the cartoon in particular. I love seeing those Sentinels that just were really good punching bags for the X-Men.
I thought I gave myself a bit of a chuckle when I saw that even like when I was looking up GIFs for Sentinels, the only one I could find was Rogue picking one up and throwing him, and I found it so hilarious that she's not able to do so.
Oh, that was a flicker up on the screen there, Corey.
Oh, apologies.
That's right. So we've got, this is a Mark IV I can think of with the hand sticking out, and he's placed himself in range for a builder. We'll see if he spends one or if he just chucks a 4 dice energy at Hulk. So for those who don't know Sentinels too well, at the end of their activation they gain 2 power. So it means that web line isn't on until turn 2, but it does mean that Sentinel Prime, after he's gone, can offer some rerolls. So Sentinel just moved up, it seems.
Oh no, I think he flicked out something, but it only managed to hit 2, and Hulk
Okay,
blocked
Hulk
it
blocked
all.
him.
Yeah.
And when you mentioned the healing that's there, again, we can't forget that online and operational as a massive heal as well. That's effectively a 7 damage healing for 8 power, and if it gets it off, it'll also flip him back to the healthy side, which can really swing a contested secure as well. But Phil will be aware of that, and he'll be trying to make sure that he can damage a piece that's already activated and then remove them with retain priority and remove it before he can be made online and operational again.
Alright, some mistakes coming out. Measuring the 4.
Yep.
Would you be happy in this situation just to take the Bucky on with the deception, or do you reckon you'd save it for another day?
Well, I don't know. He doesn't necessarily play Deception right now because, again, it doesn't need to be Mystique's activation. So he may choose just to have it there as an option and use it also to intimidate. No, he's playing it. Okay. So having it still online could be there to intimidate Sentinel or Hood and say, look, if you do decide to move them forward, I'll take them. But like Hellcannon's good enough that he's not going to probably place them more than 2 away from Bucky anyway. So Phil's making sure he measures not to try not to put Bucky onto the point. You don't want deception to give your opponents a victory point.
I've had a few messages from people suggesting that the stream isn't coming through at the moment, so I'm just tinkering with some things on my end. Apologies.
That's all right. I'll just try to keep everyone entertained. So Mystique has picked up the cube there. Now, you see the angled movement tool there. Deception is an advance, so it's different to for those who might be a bit sort of newer to the game. It's different to someone like Venom who does a pull, or even the Sentinels web line. Mystique's is an advance, so you can bend the tool, but also being an advance, it can't be a climb. So if you do it to a flying piece or a big size 5 Sentinel, that's fine, but they fly anyway. But you can't hop someone over an inconveniently located truck or building. Yeah, just interesting nuances to getting your deceptions right, and other things that give you an advance rather than a push. Venoms might be an advance actually, but the web lines are typically a push.
All right, stream is up and going, so we are good to go.
That's good. My slightly late arrival, then my awkward entry, is now forgotten to the annals of time, right?
That's it. That's it. All is forgiven.
Yep. So I said sort of a cagey approach to that centre line and the central extract, and whether and how that might play out. Well, we've seen Mystique now has the cube, which is interesting, and I think a really good move from Phil. Getting an extract advantage is important, and now I think Hellcannon has a choice. He's got two really big, obvious targets in Malekith and Hulk that he wants to get rid of, but Mystique is the one that's squishy and has that extra extract. So I think that's a really interesting a challenge that's been put forward there. I mean, Hulk has one as well and is sitting there facing two Sentinels, which is a thing. But yeah, it makes it some interesting choices for Hellcannon as to how he might try to get back that advantage.
Ferocity coming out. I assume Bucky being the target, holding the cube. I always get so nervous about this first roll with Malekith, both as the Malekith player and the opponent, because it tends to dictate the pace at which Malekith affects the game as well.
Yeah, I mean, 2 power is great to start with, but if you're going to have to ferocity every turn, you really aren't going to like it if you don't get any dice mods after that as well. So I've got 1 block and there's 4 damage going through with a crit for 5. Ouch, but no pierce. And that 1 block will keep Bucky alive.
Well, with a throw as well.
True. Is Bucky 5 or 6 health?
He's 5 on the front, 6 on the back.
Oh, 3 damage has gone through. I missed. Oh, he's got a wild and a block.
Wild
sorry.
No, you're right, mate.
That's Maybe right. There was a reroll there.
More than enough to keep the cube on him, but unfortunately with the throw he will daze top of 2.
Maybe take daze the top of 2. Probably a good result, but the reroll was for his Spetsnaz training.
Oh, of course.
Always forget that with Bucky. That could be a super powerful little synergy with the Sentinels to be able to teleport off that big base to get within 1 of somebody and then just nail them with those rapid firing assault rifles and get the reroll.
Now remind me, Sentinels builder range 3 or 4?
Range 3. It starts as 4 dice or 5 for the prime, and you can charge it up by paying 1 power for 1 extra dice up to a maximum of 3.
Yeah, because I'm wondering, just eyeballing it, I'm confident Phil's put himself outside 3, but he's positioned himself in a way that's to base block the prime coming up through the center as well, which I really like.
Yeah, I think it's a really tough position to be in. For Hellcannon, even that prime with 10 health, I can tell you won't last long into a double tap from Malekith. It'll be a really tough experience for the poor old prime. And yeah, the other thing just to note on the cards is that for 3 power you get that spender, and so the Sentinels can build up to a 7 dice builder, or for the same power they can get an 8 dice spender, where each wild will put a condition down. I wonder how much value Hellcannon will have on trying to get a slow and or a shock / incinerate onto Malekith. We know he hates slows.
As things stands, Phil's going to go up to 5-2 with priority as well, and a Malekith primed in the center on the intrusion, so he's able to go whichever way he likes realistically, sitting on 5 power top of 2. So
yeah, it's looking a little bit ugly early, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's all right. We've still got Smash. I think we're setting ourselves up next to that truck potentially for a big play.
He is, yeah, it's tough. He's got 10 health and he's got to try to get through. Yeah, I'm not sure if I want to be in Hellcannon's shoes right now, but I think he's going to know what he's doing, right? It's so hard. I mean, these centerline secures work really well for Malekith as well, and sometimes you can pick something that you're good at, that your list plays well, and your opponent happens to play it better. And it might be, well, one of these guys, Hellcannon's brought the intrusions, and he obviously thinks he's pretty good at it as a Sentinel, and he probably is. but can this Malekith Hulk combo do it better? And maybe he's in a position where he's a bit worried that they are going to do it better than him. But I guess you said as well, Bucky there at top of 2. There's going to be a cube on the ground. That does take one of Malekith's cat powers if he wants to pick it up.
Hellcannon just deciding on what he's doing with his second activation, second action. I imagine it's a builder into Malekith to at least get some chip damage and some go into the big kitty.
Yep. So he's got 2 hits. Not a great roll, but 1 block. He can pay 1. And does.
No damage through. Gains his 2 power at end of activation, and I think that's going to be round.
Yep. But look, it might be a Pyrrhic victory, but he did suck a power off the cat. I suspect the play would have looked like he may have considered pulling him off the point, but it wouldn't have made a difference to the score with Mystique still there.
Every time someone says pulling off an objective, I just think of Ragnarok and like the joke that Joel makes about with Mjolnir and Thor. It just gets me every time. Alright, cube damage coming through, powering up, and then Phil to decide where he wants to begin his murder. Money is on Malekith, I imagine.
It will be interesting to see. Sometimes I feel that if someone uses Malekith early, yeah, they get some work done, but it does leave him a little bit exposed. And there's a few Sentinels that can get some access to smash if they need to. And maybe that's there's a little play in there from Hellcannon saying, go with Malekith early and give me a shot of him.
Oh, Phil smells blood in the water. Top of 2, the big card comes out with the rerolls into Sentinel Prime, and Malekith to activate first.
Yeah, that's going to be rough. Not fair bit of power too. He's paid 3, so that means he's paid for 1. Is he paid? Is he done a ferocity? Where did he have 3
I believe
power?
he paid 2 before he rolled in the dice, so that was for ferocity, and then the additional 2 were for the 2 crits.
Yep. Okay.
Oh, 8 damage with a pierce coming through, and then the rerolls.
That is a very sad looking Sentinel Prime. So he's looking like he's just chucking a couple of rerolls in.
I think it's enough to keep him up. I think, yeah, he'll take 6. Oh, even
another
more.
attack to come.
Yeah. And the throw?
He does have brace online for the throw, but...
Oh, of course, the 2 was from, my apologies, the 2 was from Dark Rain. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, did he just place, or... So I was wondering... So he's paid for Dark Rain on Malekith rather than on Zemo, for example. So he's paid 2 power now. So that must be Dark Rain plus converting a crit. And then this one was a builder. This one must have been for ferocity, sorry.
Seven with a pierce.
There's a very upset leader.
Now, the card that you were mentioning before about the recovery, this does not work on Prime, I imagine. This is only for the
It's a Prime card that he uses on one of his little minions.
Yeah, right.
He's not so little minions, so good target priority. Yeah, the trick here for Phil is that he has still because he dazed Bucky, he is now in the position where he may lose priority, and he really will want to get rid of Prime top of 3. So let's follow me there, which will be an option for him. Just bit of a move to Mystique and a heal for the cube damage.
Now, looking at the board, I don't think Phil intends on dazing anyone else, so as it stands, he won't need to use Follow Me, because he'll be 3 for 3. Oh no, perhaps he will.
He will, because the next activation is
Yeah,
Hellcannon.
of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So Hellcannon is, I think he's eyeing off Hulk. I think he'd love to take out Hulk here if Phil activated him, but taking out Hulk would switch priority around. So, I mean, it's easier said than done, right? Like, I'd love to take out Hulk. It's easy, right? But he has a Sentinel there that's got a stack of power, but he's going to have to do it without the rerolls from the leader. So it'll be potentially using his damage Sentinel first, and then trying to finish it off with Sentinel Prime. But that'll mean Phil will be holding on to his Hulk to try to cause, if Hulk does die, flip priority back to Phil to murder Prime.
Now, if his plan is to murder Hulk, this is not the role that we want to be seeing first up.
I missed the roll.
I was no damage went through. Oh, yeah, no damage went through. It was 1 shield, 4 blanks, and 2 skulls, and 2 hits, I think.
Malekith would like it, but there's a much better roll here, which is what, 5 so far, 6. And that was an 8 dice attack, was it? I don't know how many dice he's rolled. He's rolled 10 with 3 crits, so 7. That was a builder then. Yeah, builder paying 3 for the builder. And Phil's blocked 2, but 5 damage, and that's
And a shock.
Oh, that was a spender. Spender, okay. So he's got 2 wilds, so that'll be an incinerate, possibly the other one. Yep, good. And that is probably, on that spender, is probably, I reckon, the 3 best conditions that you can choose to hand out in a slow, incinerate, and shock.
Is it automatic or is it on the wild?
1 wild, and you get to pick 1 condition. So same as like Star-Lord's full auto, or whatever it's called. So you roll 3 wilds, you get to just whack all 3 down. So Phil's got a decision. I think, 5 damage to Hulk. There's a potentially really unhappy looking Hulk at the end of the turn, at the end of the round. If the damage keeps up, there is a realistic chance that Hulk could go down.
Especially with Prio as well.
Yeah, well, Phil's going to go, do I take that risk? I think if he gets Prio, he has to... Yep, so he looks like he's going with Hulk, is he? If he loses Hulk but regains Prio, was that a good thing? Here he's going. If he is going with Hulk, he's sort of, 1, it's a terrible roll, and 2, he runs the risk of now losing Hulk and still not having Prio.
One more damage cheeking through.
Yep, and a push.
Push comes out.
That was. I wondered if that was going to be a problem for Phil there, because I thought to myself, well, maybe if he flips that Sentinel but loses Prio, Sentinel Prime just wanders over and flips the Sentinel back. That could have been pretty frustrating if you had no Hulk and Sentinel Prime's got out of there a little bit, and you've got the Sentinel unflipped again. It could have been not ideal, but I think there's a bit of pace in Phil's scoring as well.
I think Phil, with his CS background, recognises that the situation he's in with the potential guns online for Hulk, knowing that he's not immortal, and repositioning, potentially pick up the cube as well, and just to be the man, just sitting there securing the points with his large health pool with patch up ready to go.
Yeah,
so
that's spot on, exactly what he's doing. I wonder if he's managed to get more than 4 away. Picks up that cube, and if he was in range to pick up that cube and wasn't 4 away from the other Sentinel, again with the priority situation, could have been a problem. There he's measuring it out, so it looks like he can find a place where he can get a pull on him. It can really tilt you, can't it, when your leader goes down sort of turn 2 without getting an activation. He's dazed and now incredibly vulnerable to being taken off. Hellcannon really needs to, I guess, execute what he sees as his target priority and bring down the pieces he needs to. But it does leave you on tilt a bit.
I would have been very tempted to potentially with Hulk with that remaining 2 power, even just to throw that truck, not necessarily at anyone, or just into the stratosphere, just to remove options such as Smash for Hellcannon, knowing that he's likely to pick up priority for turn 3.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call. I mean, you can always throw a truck at somebody, right?
Yeah.
He did and he did the leap. He did the gamma leap. So he had some. He did get to within 2 of it to be able to throw it somewhere. He may have been just going, oh, I don't want to give any extra power to that Sentinel, but I just forgot about it. But yeah, I think you're spot on there. Do you find, Corey, if you have something, if you're playing as either of these 2 players and you go, all right, I've knocked over their leader, dazed him at the top of 2, do you go, if you're the person who's knocked over your opponent's leader, do you find that also puts you on kind of a reverse tilt where you might take your foot off the throttle a little bit as well and think, well, on top here, and maybe make a misplay, or do you find it's pretty easy to keep your laser focus on executing and finishing it off?
I think when you're in a situation like this, like Phil is, especially with entry into the top card on the line, I think for me personally, and I know for Phil as well, playing him, it's a situation of just continuing the pressure and putting the boot down on the throat and just nailing it down hard. I think that's why we saw the Dark Rain come out so early, because he saw the opportunity to really put the hurt in. I definitely would have stopped and paused, potentially thought about the follow me, just to secure priority into 3 to really ensure that we take out the leadership. Not sure how impactful it will be in this game, but at least taking out the prime, being such a central role player for the team. It's definitely one question I've written down to ask Phil post game, to just to get his thoughts around that whole idea.
Yeah, I think I know we've got a Foss listening, so I don't want to jump too far down the cricket analogies, but there used to be the saying that Steve Waugh was the master of keeping his foot on the opponent's throat once he got the advantage for his team, and it is so important that when you get the edge to just then execute clinically and really make sure you finish that off. I think Phil's just made some really good moves though. In that situation, he's put Mystique right out of the game. But she's got 2 cubes on her now, so he's going to be scoring 4 points almost like without being challenged for the foreseeable future. And even though it's only 5 points on the board now, Phil's really got an eye to scoring it out, even if the fight goes against him, I think. I think I flagged that last turn of saying, put those points on Mystique. Means that those big targets, so some more damage going through onto Hulk there, and a nice bit of
Some
zap
big damage.
from Hood there. Was it from Hood? Yeah. But yeah, putting those 2 points on Mystique and then the other one on Zemo, they're low priority targets when you've got an angry Hulk and an angry Malekith around. But really, really impactful in terms of scoring the game, even if you lose the fight. To catch 22 with Malekith, Hellcannon has seeded that centre line turn 1 and went down on points. And Phil has very, very astutely actually pivoted and created distance between the bigger hitters, and is now in a position where he's putting massive scoreboard pressure on as well, because he was able to get that early lead and that early advantage on extracts, and it puts, I think, Hellcannon in a very difficult position.
Some simple repositioning with Zemo still staying within 1 for have the teleport online, but also just keeping him cover. And that
So
would
he's
be
not
round
going
3,
for the
11-4.
yeah, he's not going for the teleport.
Oh,
He's
I
just
mean,
scoring a point.
yeah, just
Yeah,
to be within range to secure, yeah.
yeah. So we are seeing and yeah, cover from Bucky's counter strike. So Hellcannon is aware that he may lose a leader here. So or somebody, and so Bucky is ready to get people's back. Measuring to see if he can smash the truck, and
I'm fully
so,
anticipating a dazed Hulk at the end of this activation.
yeah, I think he was measuring to see if he could potentially get Malekith. Sentinel Prime has a 9 dice spender, but and he's using Smash on the truck. I think was that right? Smash on the truck. Yep.
Yeah,
So that was the size 4 truck. So that means the spender, which he's just spent 4 to do it, did he? Oh no, he's doing it on the other Sentinel. I think he spent 4 off it. So the builder there will be 8 dice. Seems a bit weird. Is the piece that he's clicking on, is that a normal Sentinel?
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, it's sitting underneath patch up. Whoa, that's a roll. That was a spender, I believe, because he rolled, I think it looks like he's rolled 12
Wow.
dice with 3 crits.
1 action. Wow.
Okay, so he's throwing the cube down towards Hood. Now, interesting note here for newer players who might not sort of be as aware on this, but the Hulk is dazed. He doesn't get removed straight away. Normally, when a piece gets KO'd, it gets taken out straight away. But because Hulk technically dazes, and then when you try to flip him, he gets KO'd because he doesn't have a flip side. He stays there and gets to be a big fat block for everybody else. So he can be a pain in the backside for the rest of the turn, and then will die in the cleanup phase.
Well, here comes the web pool, and I imagine another big juicy builder, or potentially even spender.
Honest, that was a builder. Okay, that was good. That's very good then to get the power online to pull him in and then spender him. So the spender will be 8 dice base, plus 4 makes it a 12 dice spender, and he'll be getting rerolls from the Sentinel Prime, but he can't use them against Malekith.
Oh, another big roll.
Yep, and 2 conditions crucially as well. So we get a shock there on Malekith if he lives.
Six coming through.
Probably that's not great for Phil, but he probably won't mind as much. Doesn't matter getting a bit of power on Malekith, who can in fact push everybody with his tactics card as well. So there's no size restriction on that.
I'm curious if Hulk was within 2 of Mal. I didn't take note of that because he had mission objective online, but he mustn't have been within 2 at that time.
Or Phil didn't measure it.
Yeah, I mean, with the clocks and entry into the top on the line, very easy to miss these sort of things.
So slow and shock on Malekith. Yeah, so there is a little bit of interest here in the fact that Malekith now has only the 6 damage. He's got to be a little careful because if he went for say a Sentinel Prime, he could potentially even have died to a got you back from Bucky. But it does look like he's going to go finish off Bucky. Phil has basically got the ability to lock in 4 points, which will be Zemo and Mystique plus that North portal, which means he can't quite score out the game at this point. But he certainly can next turn.
Well, as long as he can hold on to that center and the north point, he could potentially take it. But I think
Well, he can't hold the center because there's at least one line online. And so he'll just be pulled straight off it if nothing else, if he's not dazed.
Well, we could potentially see Mystique or or Zemo rotating to the center. But again, that would potentially be dropping your cubes and not ideal. But we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's actually a little bit closer, perhaps, because we've forgotten as well that that Hood has the ability to teleport, and with a lucky roll, could end up in that top area and able to gun down one of those two heroes hiding at the top of the cubes.
4 coming through with a throw, I imagine.
Yep. So it'll go. Bucky will throw into something. Yeah. Do we see?
The Butcher of Thors.
Do we see it into the Sentinel Prime? Do you think, and try to do the 8 damage and get fortunate, or
I
do we
think
see him
actually,
try to finish Bucky?
I think they'll be finishing Bucky, but you don't place off a KO'd model.
With only 1 health on Bucky, he'd just use the builder, wouldn't he?
Oh, and look at that. 2 shields and 5 blanks.
That's a bit rough.
Fortunately, though, this does mean he gets to place and then put himself within... I can't see that. I think it's follow me range. Yes, it is.
Yeah. So Zemo will go to finish it.
And I think we'll see Zemo come through, finish it, and potentially even patch up Malekith to keep him protected as well.
Yeah, potentially. I would have thought, so it's a charge, it looks like a charge in, maybe with a Steel Rush. Sorry, Master Swordsman, I should say. Maybe a Steel Rush just to get out the back and be safe. Yep, so Master Swordsman and Spender it was. Sorry, Master Swordsman and Builder. It's got the Wild, and oh, I feel that's a bit rough, don't you? He had the rerolls and everything, but there was skulls and shields and all over the place.
Oh, much better roll this time.
Yep.
More than enough, I think.
Yep, but it does leave Zemo exposed there. But crucially, Phil will definitely get priority back down no matter what happens. But he is now not scoring. Oh, he's going to use the Malekith leadership to heal 1 and to move Malekith onto the point, which is probably keeping him pretty safe from the big boy who's yet to go. So
So what's next is Hellcannon. As was obviously looking at the board state, there's a big threat of potentially Phil really pushing for a 15 finish at the end of this turn. What is it that he needs to do now to try to come back with only 4 points? Like, I think the attrition game is perhaps a little too late considering how many points are on the board, but there's still opportunities. Where are we going first, do you think?
like I think what he has to do at a minimum is I think he has to try to get Hood into a position to take those 2 cubes off Mystique. Mystique's taken 2 damage already from cubes, so I think he really has to try to get those 2 points off her, and he needs to get Malekith off the point. So if he can limit, even if he limits Phil to scoring the 1, it brings him back into the game. That means probably taking advantage very much of the portals. If he is not, if he's careless though, he runs the risk of Mystique picking up an extra cube and running long away, which would be frustrating. So he's rolling on the cube now, Hellcannon, and he's rolled a shield, which I think
it's a success.
I think that's
Only,
fine.
Yeah, blanks and skulls for fails.
So he's putting, he's going up there with the Sentinel, which is interesting because I guess if he's there and dies, he's got that scrap metal up his sleeve as well. I wonder if I haven't noticed this, but I wonder if he remembered to trigger the leadership on the dazing of Hulk. I think he hasn't because everyone in his team should have got the power, and Hood is still on 2.
Is it just 1 power for everyone across the team equal to the threat?
Yeah, pieces equal to the threat value of your days.
And we're getting our web line out to make sure we are avoiding cover. I'm wondering if he's within 2.
I wonder why he did that. He's probably put Mystique within 2 there, I would have thought.
Yeah, I think now we've got Marshall Martial artist online now.
Yeah, he spent 4, so he's doing this. Is that the spender? 4. Yeah, that would be that's a big hit if it is.
Alright, 3 damage.
Spent 4.
Oh,
So
massive.
4. Martial prowess means nothing when you roll that. Oh, just an extra damage for good measure.
Oh, Phil's done
Wow.
well. 3 out of 3 is pretty good, but a monstrous roll from Hellcannon.
Did you say something about attrition? Too little, too
Yeah.
late, and
I was just twiddling my thumbs, waiting for you to make the comment.
the interesting thing about this though is it doesn't really matter what Hood rolls. I think he should still be able to be placed in range of Malekith to try to sneak that 5 damage, or at least give it a scare. And of course the board is Hellcannons from here as well. There's no one else to activate, so he's got 2 free activations.
Well, Hellcannon's got a bit of ground to make up, but I certainly self-put him in a position to do so.
Yeah, I think it really opens the game up. I think it was really crucial he did it. But I wonder if his last action will be just to pull Malekith off the point.
Leadership power's coming through this time.
Yep. Which is good to see. He may well have actually, because Hood might have gone down to 0 from his attack into Hulk last turn, and then gone up to 1, and then 1 more when Hulk dazed. So did we see we seen a web line to pull Malekith off the point? Oh, you can only use it once per turn, and he used it on Mystique. So I suspect that means this Sentinel is coming to wander up and teleport, which I wondered if Hood might have been a better option.
Well, there's potential 7 points on the board.
Yeah, I just thought Hood might have been able to get the days on Malekith, but because of course you drop your objectives if you teleport, and the Sentinel there that he's moving has an objective, and I just wonder, did he move? Why did he move?
Did he move Hood?
I don't really know why he moved Hood first. Wouldn't you go the Sentinel?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening. And Hood's now spent 3 power for the heal, and has moved and not picked up the cube, and which means there might be a cube on the ground over on the other side.
There are cubes on Sentinel.
Oh, I believe Prime only had the 1 power to be able to pick up 1 cube, so he's still got 1 on the ground over here.
Okay. Yep, there we go. There it is too. Then how does Prime not have more power then? Because he should have gained 2 at the end of activation.
I think it's because he's dazed. He loses that ability, doesn't he?
Ah, true. There you go. Good point. Let's pull up the card and have a quick look. So I'm not there. Oh yeah, you can click on it there.
Oh no, here we are. The Prime.
During the power phase, roll 5 dice. Yeah, okay. So he would have been on full power during the power phase, which is why he didn't do it. There you go.
Alright, teleport come through.
He dropped his cube when he did it. That is interesting.
I think effectively you'll get to a point where he will still pick up his 6 points, because then he's and we haven't.
Oh, he's going to try to teleport back again, I suspect. Because you can interact with the portal multiple times.
Well, if he picks up the cube and he goes through again, he'll drop it again, right? So there's no point.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's just going.
Oh, he's going to zap Dean Zemo. There you go. Interesting.
But this Prime, for some reason I thought this Sentinel was yet to activate, but he has. So
no, he has. He was the one that did all the damage to Hulk.
Yeah.
I think.
And yet we haven't got an activated token on Hood yet either. So I think.
No, he's been a bit sloppy. He hasn't got one on Prime either.
That's all right.
Clock's
I'm
on.
more than confident that between Phil and Hellcannon, they're able to understand what's happening in the board state. We'll just potentially wait till the end of round 3 to see how it all ends up.
Yeah, it's fascinating leaving points on the board.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was his big chance and opportunity to even the keel with potentially picking up 7 to go 11 to 12. Wondering
He's
what it...
valued the heal very highly on that Sentinel, that was damaged, and I think that's where it's come from. But it's he's still got brace for impact online as well, just to remember. So yeah, I find it an interesting setup. Not saying it's wrong, not for a
No,
second.
just different.
It's not a great roll there and a good block from Zemo, which is a bit not ideal. So is he pulling Malekith off? I don't think he's pulling him away from the point. He's activated him, so interesting. But he's got 2 healthy pieces on there. So, no, he's got 1 healthy piece, doesn't he? Because Sentinel Prime has been dazed, so it'll be a tie on that north point.
Yeah,
So
and
Phil will just score the 1.
he's just brought more cubes to where Malekith is, hasn't he?
Well, they're already there. I just think it would have been nice to see him possibly score some more points down the bottom and close the game up. It doesn't take a lot from here to score it out.
Hulk will come off the
For
table.
Phil.
We'll go into round 4. Phil with
Yep.
Prio with 12-7.
Yep.
Not a single card used from Hellcannon yet.
Yeah, he hasn't flipped them, but he's used Smash.
Oh, apologies. Yes, of course he has. Yes, smash, patch up.
I don't think he used Patch Up. I think that was a heal from Hood, wasn't it?
Potentially.
Because Hood went down to 0 power.
Oh, right.
And he had 3 damage on him. I think if Hood's 3, there's no bleed. There's no reason you wouldn't have just used it. So mission objective and patch up sitting there. I mean, surely Phil's got to be thinking about patching up Malekith, or at least, Phantasma. So probably he probably wants to put some health on Malekith.
Oh, there's no Phantasmagoria on Phil's side.
No,
Patch up and
just
mission.
tweaked that.
Yeah. So Malekith to go, I imagine, and I think he's going to do some big hurt with the ability to throw a size 5 into one of these
Another
guys.
size 5.
Yeah.
But Brace is still online.
Yes, it's true. It's true.
I think if you're playing with size 5 pieces that can get thrown, you're not going to waste it on Bucky, are you? You're gonna know this is going to happen at some point. Josh Fink is giving his own particular cheering on. He said, "Give him the willy, Philly." Not sure if that's encouragement or a threat.
Well, knowing us Aussies, mate, it could be both at the same time, you know?
Ted said could be.
The gent's just hashing out some details.
Yeah, well, let's look. It's Phil's clock's running, so it's obviously Phil deciding something. So he's played the 2 power, and he's done a short move because he's slowed, and this will be a ferocity into somebody.
Who is the priority at this point? It has to be the Prime, right?
Has to be, I think, because they've both got 6 health compared to 7. Both of them get rerolls defensively if he wants to spend for them, but like they've both got a cube, but Prime gets taken off the board. But however, Prime can explode himself, so maybe I don't know.
Oh, big boy roll, 6 damage with a pierce.
Nice. And 2 skulls for Hellcannon doesn't make him feel very good. So if that's into Prime, that's into the Mark IV, the Mark IV days.
Rerolls
He's
coming
paid 2
in.
for rerolls. Yep, he gets 1, but it's going to be pierced.
Ooh.
So that was into the Prime, who's going to be thrown. And sure, I mean, we're going to see.
We're going to see the brace, clearly, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost, do you even bother throwing him because you just know it's going to do it, but why not? I just want to have a laugh and see Sentinel explode.
I was just thinking that.
And roll 5 successes and daze Malekith in the process. That'd be hilarious.
Just out of curiosity, I'll look at the card. Is it one character or all characters? It is
all other characters, not all enemy characters. So yeah, he would do some nasty damage to his own Sentinel with it, but
Yeah,
you know,
we're here for a good time.
he's definitely choosing violence.
Well, it's been a game full of violence, really. I mean, I suppose that's what happens when you bring a C to a kitty cat show.
So we've seen the brace come out, by the way. He's already paid it. In the least surprising move of this game.
And then the follow up to take him out, I imagine, for the round. Or take him off the board, even.
He's only rolled 6.
Oh, that's because it's a builder with the shock.
No, he's rolled 6 successes. Sorry, he's rolled 9 dice. Right. He rolled 9 dice, which is butchers with a shock. So he's nearly saved it. He's blocked, 2. That's pretty good.
I think Phil's done well to position the Sentinel because something I saw was that potentially that Sentinel blowing up and taking out Zemo along with him as well. But we are seeing the shrapnel come out.
So he'd kill Mystique as well. Come on, 5 successes. I want to see Mystique die, Malekith dies, and the other Sentinel be in a world of hurt. That would be hilarious. Just the one. Okay. Boo earns.
Oh, hit crit and wilds too.
He only rolled the 1 success, which is a bit sad. But he hasn't put it. He has put a damage on the little Sentinel. But he's put the stun on, but I don't think he's put the damage, has he? And the leadership trigger has healed one off Zemo and brought him in.
Wow. I genuinely thought we would see Mystique move short towards Malekith and get the patch up.
No, he's patched up Zemo.
Oh, yeah, he has too. I suppose Malekith not holding
Zemo's
any...
Yeah. So Zemo's got the cube.
Phil's but the Prime has still got a cube on his card. He's yet to drop it.
Oh, I haven't noticed that. I suspect that will be rectified fairly quickly, but we've got a line. We'll have an accuser at some point. There we go. They figured it out.
But yeah, I fully expected the Mystique to come forward, heal, patch up Malekith. Malekith picks up the cube, and then even if Zemo goes down, he just mission objectives onto Malekith, right?
Yeah, but Zemo was out of 2 before the leadership trigger.
Oh, good point. Yes, good catch. Thank you.
But I might still think your call might still have been right though, in that maybe Zemo would have patched up. Oh well, of course, Mystique. You have to be the active character playing the card, right?
For mission. Oh no.
For patch up.
No.
No. Oh, then yeah, maybe the play was Zemo healing Malekith.
Yeah,
and
potentially.
just saying Zemo died, he just heal 4 off Malekith. Zemo dies, you pay the 2 and flick it across. I don't know.
Well, look, I'm not in the cut, and these boys are, so they know what they're doing,
Exactly right. Both of us. Nice. It's real easy to be sitting at home, having not made it, and throw some stones.
That's it. Just sitting here with my ginger beer.
It's been a fascinating game. I've got to say, early it started looking pretty ugly, and it's and seeing the sheer output of that smash into Hulk, it really has opened the game up a bit. And I know Hellcannon's behind on the scoreboard, but he's not out of it by any stretch. There's points on the table for him.
Yeah, I genuinely am surprised at the output. I've yet to play into Sentinels outside of a D or a B. I haven't actually played on a C or an E yet. But just like you said, just the actual raw output that they can potentially generate, and with the web lines to get them in to get their double attacks in each activation, I can definitely see the attrition really coming through with these big bodies and big health pools to have to chew through as well.
Yeah, I'd be interested to ask Hellcannon what his strategy is if he gets a wider secure like a D or a B. Okay, we'll see what he's doing now though. Clock's ticking.
Just to confirm, I don't know where that fifth cube is gone. I think maybe it's on Malkith's card. It hasn't registered. No.
Yeah, they moved it on to Malekith
Oh, okay.
somewhere, didn't they? I thought they did. I thought I saw them move it.
Yeah, it's kind of disappeared.
No,
Oh,
they're all accounted for. There's one on Hulk, which is where they've put it by mistake.
oh,
It's still
okay.
showing up on Hulk.
Yeah,
That's on Malekith, and then there's the one on the Sentinel Mark IV,
yeah.
and there's one on Zemo and two on the floor.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've just forgot. I didn't. I saw it on the Hulk and was just assumed it wasn't there.
Yeah, so Phil is needing 4 points to score this out, and that's not a guarantee.
I think Hellcannon's making the right decision to just slow down. They've been playing at quite a tight, quick, fast pace, which has been brilliant to watch. But I think he's making a right call just to slow down, consider the board state, and really start to do the math behind how he can
He's
come back.
shooting into Zemo, which is the call. It looks like. Because Zemo's scoring the points, so I guess that's why. With a shock on him, he's not doing a lot, but that's a roll I didn't want. Wow, that was not a great roll, and for 7 dice, that was a builder too.
All right, back to the drawing board. We've whiffed the first one.
He has 2 power left, so he has got the web line, but I don't think he needs it at this point. I don't think he's got a purpose to it. No, he's pulling Zemo back. Okay, interesting. I guess he's saying, spend some power, but whether that's helpful or not, I don't know. No, he's measuring it out, having a think.
I mean, a full stick of butter on Mystique and I imagine after his activation quite a bit more on Zemo. I'd be confident that between those two they'd be able to take out to do 6 damage into 3 physical defense, don't you?
Potentially, but Zemo is shocked. That's a better roll.
Zemo showing up as well, or is this Malkith?
No, that was Zemo.
Well, it was 4 from 3.
Yeah, no, he rolled 4 blocks as well. So, yeah, nasty. But look, I don't know. Like, I think 6 health, 3 physical defense. You got a 4 dice with a reroll, then you got 2 4 dices with rerolls, maybe 5s if he wants to spend her, and then Mystique with her rapid fire. But you've got Hood there, and Hood carves through Mystique. He'll go straight through her. What was that one? Mission objective. So he's chucking it onto Malekith, is he?
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah. So that changes a little bit. It's now saying you need 2 days Malekith.
Well, what it just allows Phil to do is to send his Zemo down into potentially days the threat of Hood into Mystique, like you were mentioning.
But again, with 4 dice and damage reduction on the flip side, I don't see Zemo getting him. I think the threat is still alive.
Or even he could just come down here, pick up a cube, and double long away as well.
Yep, he could. Interesting. I'd love to. Sometimes you just want to be a fly on the wall and be inside their head and just seeing what the thoughts are.
I think the problem is that there are so many thoughts and so many lines to consider.
We've got a line there catching up portal damage from earlier, so they put a damage on the Sentinel and then put a damage on Zemo because he's just teleported. Reath rolled a blank, so Hellcannon put him in the middle.
Second attempt.
Yep.
Alright, we've nailed it this time.
Yep. But an extra point of damage. So he's going down there, and he's going to have a go at somebody. Oh, he's going to take that and run off.
Yeah.
So difficult decisions. I don't know if it is that difficult though. Like, I still think it's got to be Hood dealing with Malekith, doesn't it?
Like you said, he's holding 2 cubes, isn't he?
Yeah. And so 1 cube on Zemo. Yes, it's a pain, but Malekith is going to be the game winner.
Phil really showing his CS background with a play like that. A lot of people would have been tempted to go to see red with Zemo and potentially go into that Sentinel, but he's done a
Whereas,
good job to pull Hellcannon's resources out wide and make him to force decisions, which is great.
I think so. I mean, Phil's the best potato sitter ever since Ireland, withdrew from the national competition.
I think he'd wear that title with pride, actually.
No, he's it's about. I've always found one of the hard things, and something that Phil does very well in the games I've played against him, is knowing when to disengage. And sometimes I think my tendency is to pull back a little bit too early, and to give just a little window to cover the distance and put some damage through, and let that roll possibly decide it. Whereas Phil often chooses the right point to get out of there. I'm interested to see, he was measuring down towards Zemo with that big Sentinel, and I just think I think that's maybe a temptation, but I think he's just got to secure the one on the ground. I don't think he needs to be crazy there. He needs to not lose the game, and he needs to put 2 points in the bag, and give Phil a chance to use Mystique and see what he wants to do with her. I still think he's Hood was the character to go with there, but I think he's might have made probably possibly the wrong choice there. I guess he's saying, all right, Mystique can't contest any of these points because she's flipped. So as long as she doesn't daze anybody, it doesn't help.
Well, Hood securing 2 in the center. Mystique likely, from what it seems, to move onto the point and even potentially sabotage that piece of terrain, maybe, or even body block potential as well.
Maybe. It's interesting though. Like, I don't think he wants to teleport. Well, I guess that Sentinel has dropped the objective, but like, does he want to teleport to a point that he's already scoring?
Well, like you said, I think it's all about Malekith, right? And I think he's thinking that the Sentinel has the best option.
His Sentinel has more dice, certainly. Yeah, possibly. I still kind of just always rate rapid fire. It just always seems an option.
Mystique rolling in.
Yep. 1 hit, no rapid fire.
Oh, and 3 crits.
3 crits.
Whoa.
He'd be disappointed to have rolled it. Can I just pull it out when I want it?
That's exactly what I would have been thinking.
Like, where was that when I was actually trying to daze Zemo earlier?
That's right.
It's hard, right? Like, obviously we're Australian, so we've got a bit of national pride cheering on for Phil, but we're also Aussies, and Aussies can't help but try to cheer on the underdog. And you've got 2 levels of underdog with Hellcannon, in that he's A, not playing Malekith, and B, he's playing with Sentinels. And so there's a sort of an instinct that says you really want to cheer him on too, because he's obviously fighting from underneath, as they say.
Oh, absolutely. Tall poppy syndrome is a real thing.
Yeah, Phil's too good. Cut him down, hey?
That's it, mate. 100%. Phil beats me all the time, so.
Yeah, same. It's been really good though. He's it's one thing to be beaten by someone, but also Phil's just such a gentleman. Always has time for everybody. Helps you out with your game, and you really, like, it's not a you don't feel like you're being brutalized when Phil does it.
Absolutely. There's been many a early morning me messaging him for the time difference. Now I'm wondering, just watching some of his positioning, I think Phil again was just trying to put his Mystique in position to be a bit awkward and uncomfortable for Hellcannon, but it's hard to do that with a small base.
It is, but he's done a pretty good job.
I
But
might
that
move
was,
up.
I believe that was a move to get there. Is that correct as
Yeah,
well?
it was. Yeah, just a
So he's
rapid
only
fire
got
to
one
move.
shot here at Malakath, but he probably won't mind too much because he's got 2 cubes on him, and if he can do even just 2 damage, it would be massive in the context of the game, I suspect, if it didn't end, and if Malakath just dazed at the top of the turn. But that being said, that's 3 points, so he'd go to 15, and Hellcannon would go to 4 to 11, so he'd still be he still wouldn't be in the box seat, that's for sure.
Do you think now, looking at the board, say it was like we were talking before about Hellcan's decision to prioritize the healing over scooping up those 3 extra points? Do you think it was worth it considering where we're at now?
Well, like I reckon when we score out this round, if you think 1 less for Phil and 1 more for Hellcannon, and see how that would affect the board state. I don't know if Zemo would have done anything if he'd attacked 4 dice.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough. So it's block 2.
Oh,
There's
3
a whole
crits
bunch of
rolling
crits
in.
to roll in. Yeah. So 5, blocking 2 is 3 damage, and that's going to put us in that same. Oh no, okay, got it. Didn't
Did
pay the
he?
1.
Oh, he didn't pay for the 1? Surely he did.
No, I think he's seen the danger and thought maybe it's actually not a bad thing if I daze. Because then he gets Malakath back next turn. It would be a disaster for Phil to have
Oh
had
yeah,
Malakath days at the top. That
yeah,
would have been
absolutely.
game changing.
That would have been, yeah, big danger mode.
So we'll see what he's going to do there because he's got no power on the piece, right? So that's just those points are just on the ground, and he doesn't have prior.
Is this the damage Mark 4, is it? They're not hurt? Was that
It's the
not a
one that's
builder?
got 1 damage. Oh no, it was a builder. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. Okay, so he's A2 and he's picking them up.
Yeah.
Okay, so score is 11 to 13. Now imagine
12 to 12.
that 12-12. I don't know. It's 12-12, but with Zemo still in the game. I don't know. It's interesting to think about, isn't it?
It'd be something I think Hellcannon will walk away from this game to think about. I know for myself, whenever I finish up my games, a lot of self-reflection happens post-game and thinking about the different lines of play. I think that decision point may have been a very vital or a major one in this game that he will walk away and think about on.
It's hard to tell, though, really, isn't it? I'm interested as well. He hasn't, it looks like, picked up
No,
cubes.
that's what I was just looking at. I
And
just saw it on the table and wasn't sure.
if he hasn't picked up the cubes, why hasn't he just teleported away? Because now he's going to have that exact same thing that he braced last turn, where he's going to have a Sentinel thrown into a Sentinel.
All right. Freshly flipped Malkith.
Yep. Oh, that's the worst Malakath roll in the history of Malakath rolls. 2 with a pierce.
2 with the beers.
Not anyone else, that's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
I looked at it all. No skulls, no crits, just it still does 2 with a pierce.
Well, it's enough to do a damage and get the throw going, though.
The throw's automatic anyway, so yeah.
Oh, I believe you have to do damage.
Do you think so? That's never happened. Never come up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if attack deals damage, there you go.
But I suppose there's a good point. In the history of Malkith, has that ever happened, you know?
I've just had a quick chat to the danger room there, and Jacob tells me that mathematically, no, it's never happened, never will. He did the maths that quick.
That quick, yeah. Check the history book.
So the throw's coming in, is it?
Yeah, I think it's already done, and we've got a daze mark 4.
And a 4 health on the other one, so terrifying. And that's a trigger, a leadership trigger for Mystique. And then our last Mark 4 is got 3 health left.
3 health, no rerolls from Prime.
But there is enough for a Butcher's.
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, they obviously have the 4 defense. I'm wondering if 7 dice with Pierce into 4, what the maths would be like with 8 dice into 3.
Well, the butcher's is 10, isn't it?
Oh, it is 10, of course it is. It's not 8.
I'm going to say 10 into 3 is better
10
than
is...
7 with a piece into 4.
Absolutely. I keep thinking it's 8. Man, 10
I need
dice.
to. I can call in Jacob again.
No.
But for me, it's so there's got to be one pun in here. For me, though, just looking at it, that's simple maths.
Yeah. Oh, well played, sir. Well played. Oh my goodness, 10 dice.
Yeah.
I've had a luxurious pleasure of not having to play into Malekith too often lately, so it's been lovely. It's been nice. And that's already 6.
7.
7, sorry.
Simple maths again.
7, 8 with a
8 if he wants to pay.
Yeah.
But he hasn't paid. He's not bothering. I think he's seen the dice and gone, yeah, that'll do. That'll do, pig. That'll do.
And with that, I think...
Look, it's pretty
Hellcannon.
hard from here, isn't it?
Yeah.
He'll pick up a couple of cubes, and it does make it pretty hard. But yeah, that daze, to leave him to daze Malekith rather than leave him on one has genuinely finished the match, which is absolutely, I guess, expected. But I'm genuinely pleased to see how close that was.
Yeah, it's been a great game. Been a great game.
So he'll pick up 2 cubes on Malekith. It has been a cracker, and it's been a lot of violence, which is always nice
always
to
entertaining
see.
to watch.
And I think many people might be walking away from here with some serious respect for those Sentinels.
Yeah, I think Hellcannon, even in the pre-game chat, was just mentioning that he knows deep down inside that Sentinels aren't the S tier or the top dog or something to compete with some of the other top performing affiliations, but he's just been really enjoying approaching the game differently with a new affiliation and just surprising people with the amount of output they can do. And I think we've seen that in this game.
Yeah, and I think I think there's enough there that you can sort of build a bit towards. And you look at the cards that he hasn't been able to play.
Yeah, that online and operational. Surely, like I can imagine games and situations that he's been in during Swiss, where that's really come in clutch to bring a Sentinel back to full health, healthy to contest those objectives, and it doesn't even activate them, does it? It's just a heal card, basically.
Yeah, and I just think to myself, like, into the Malekith matchup where there's such serious damage output going on, it's possibly one that is really useful, but also harder to get off because the target priority can sort of deal with it. But they're just probably scoring it out now, I think. But I reckon there's a lot of matchups where that card is absolutely brutal as well. There's things I notice. I'm a big proponent of escort to safety, and I do notice just the synergy with that card that it's online at the top of turn 2, and that to me is a real indicator that I might like to have that in a Sentinels roster. If you think about maybe just that chance of pulling Sentinel Prime away from that first ferocity in the top of turn on the top of turn 2 could have made a bit of a difference. So I think there's a few little things that you could possibly do to build some different play lines as these guys just finish it up. And I think we do know that the result is unless Hood goes here and somehow rapid fires to death. Oh, he's only picked up 1. Okay, well, maybe they're still live, but Hood picks up 2, walks back on the point. Oh, no, he's going to pick up 1 because he only got 1 power. He needs to score 5, though. Reath only needs 3 to keep himself in the game. I don't think it's... unless he kills Mystique somehow. Doing the attacks there. Mystique blocking like a boss.
Absolutely.
Paying 2, picking up the cubes. So
I think, yeah,
pretty
coming to a
straightforward.
conclusion now. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. All
But yeah,
right.
I think there has been a lot of Sentinels have impressed. They've gone down, and Reath, obviously a fantastic player, and with a really strong list, it's always going to be hard for the Sentinels. But I think they've probably won themselves a few fans today.
Yeah, absolutely. I've really enjoyed watching them on the table. I've yet to have seen them in a position like this where they really get to show off what they're capable of, and it's been great to see the affiliation in a new light and in a new way. It's just unfortunate that Malkith does so well into them.
Yeah, and I suspect that'll change over time as well. But look, I've got my 3 in the door behind me. They've been spray undercoated, and I think after today, I'll definitely get them on the table.
Yep, agreed. What we might do now is we might rotate into their chat. We'll give them a few more moments just to post game chat away, and then we might jump in there and join them and ask them a question or two and see how they're feeling post game.
Yeah, sounds like a good plan. I hope everyone's enjoyed the game. Do stick around for the chats because quite often you can get some really good insights into some of these top players from the post-game chat. They give a little bit about their approach to the game, and the decision making on the board state is not the only part of being a successful player. Of course, it's being it's that approach to the game, that looking for your pathways to victory, and the way you'll set up the game before you roll the dice and put a model on the table.
All right, mate. Well, we're getting along enough. Might jump in there. I'll see you in there.
No, see you there.
Yeah, if you kill somebody, I just get prio. So
Yeah, I think the commentators are here.
yeah.
Well done, gents.
So you're gonna end up getting 5. So you get an 18, and I get 2 and go to 13 for final purposes.
That's close. It's very close.
Thrilling game to
Some
watch,
of the
gents.
Sentinel games have been. You just fall behind, and then you have this huge swing turn, and you just start catching back up. But it's unreliable because it's all dice. So they're fun. I don't think they're great. I think Malekith is very good into them.
Yeah, the throw helped a lot in that last
throw
game.
is, and I mean, you had 2, like, because you had Hulk and Malekith that could do
Yeah.
it, and I was like, oh, and that's why I'd bring Brace, because I'm just like, Jesus, it's a free kill on a model, basically.
Yep.
Fantastic game, boys. It was wonderful to watch. We both really enjoyed what we were seeing with the ebbs and flows and the back and forward with what was happening on the table. Congratulations, Phil, for the win, and fantastic game to you, Hellcannon. Are you boys up for a question or two before we finish up today?
Yeah,
Yep.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right, so Phil, to start off with you, mate. The first decision I felt you had to make was the threat level between 19 and 17. Was there much decision making there for you? I noticed that you picked 19 to be able to bring the Hulk and the Malkith. Was that the first thing that came to thought, or were you thinking more about 17 as an option?
I really struggled with the decision between the two. So I almost went 17 and ran a narrower squad. But the fact that it was cubes and it was fast led me to run 19 just so I had an extra model. So I really I think I was tossing up strongly between Malekith and Hydra, and I think if it hadn't have been on intrusions, and it had been something a little bit more open, I would have probably fancied Hydra at 17 for that matchup.
And Hellcannon, for you, a lot of the talk
Mhm.
at the moment around the game is around this idea of when we have some pieces like Malkith, where the threat of the center line really is a thing, especially with extracts turn 1. I was curious to hear your thoughts around what were your thoughts like for having Prio and something like a cubes, where there's obviously the cube in the center. Was your game plan just to sit back and wait for him to pick up the cube and react to that, or because I noticed that you didn't have a Toad or an angel or something, a very a usual sort of piece to take care of that. What was your kind of game plan in just that sort of situation?
Toad is in the list, so I can do that, but I think generally the Sentinels are usually just trying to take pieces off, and so I think usually teams that have a center extract play have some shenanigan, like he had the deception, and so teams have enough kind of response to it that I don't think Sentinels are good at picking up that center, at least right now, without a Toad or something like that. And so, yeah, I think it's better to react a little bit more reactively. if I do a damage, the Sentinels can pull somebody in, and then they can all start shooting almost from the deployment line. And if I can pull somebody out like that, it can, I mean, they can burn models down very quickly if they can single target it.
Phil, just one more question before I pass over to Theo. There was a particular moment at the top of turn 2 where there was an option for you to follow me after your Malchus activation to secure priority. Actually, there was another moment as well. Talk us through that. Did you think about that at all, or was that something that you were saving for the turn 3 to really lock away the points?
It was an oversight. Normally, I would have liked to save it if I kept priority, but the days with cubes on Winter Soldier, to be honest, I just missed it. And I agree that I think that decision probably hurt me more than anything else that game. So I think that, I definitely agree. I should have played it just for the priority maintenance, and not doing so hurt me. So that's certainly a lesson I'll take out of that.
Yeah, because obviously it meant that the the retaliation to Malkith top of 3 would have hurt with Hulk, sorry, with the smash. And that brings me to my second part of the question. Was I also noticed that there was an opportunity for your Hulk to spend the last 2 power to throw that truck to it that was enabling smash for turn 3. Is that something else that you missed as well, or are you saving that for something else?
I was saving it as a bit of a movement blocker, but I think the misplay there is I should have sent Hulk out this way, not into the center line. So there was a couple of things I think in that decision area with Hulk. I think I should have sent him towards the back here and then use Malachus' leadership to bring him back in later in the game. And I also think the other thing I wasn't happy with was my priority was kill choice. I think I should have gone after Prime with Malachith instead of Winter Soldier, and I should have thrown him away and then sort of butchered to remove him from the fight earlier. I underestimated. I looked at it and thought he's going to have to do a couple of move actions and I can get him next turn. But it would have been better to go after him and hopefully get him rather than remove Winter Soldier. He posed much less of a threat to Zemo and Mystique than Prime ended up being, and that hurt me a lot, I think.
Thanks so much for that. It's just really good to hear some of the insights and your thought process around it while we're viewing on the outside. So thank you for that. Theo, your go, mate.
Yeah, look, Phil, you've segued really nicely into one of my questions, which was underestimating the damage output a little bit. You mentioned the choice being potentially 17 Hydra on a slightly faster secure or a slightly more open secure. Does that change now in hindsight? Going, wow, actually, there's a lot of damage that comes out. Do you still think Hydra, I guess, have the pace to do it when you factor in how much damage just got thrown out in that big smash turn?
Short answer, yes, but I think I wouldn't have been playing on the secures very much. So I think I would have been leveraging the extracts to run away, and I think it would have been a close game, but I think I would have had almost no fight into it. So I think the Malekith side of my list was definitely the right decision based on that.
Yeah, cool. Hellcannon, I've been looking at Sentinels and really keen to get them on the table. The thing that's been a decision point that I was wondering if you had some insights on is there's a few characters that can really, I guess, provide some movement shenanigans around those big bases. Things like Lockjaws, Medusas, Bucky as well when he gets his thing online, or Nick Fury Jr. I didn't see your list because I came in a little bit later because I was on the button of 2:30, but can you tell me any of those in your list, and how do you weigh up the choice between leading into the damage options that you obviously took and then looking at some of the movement shenanigans as another option, and how do you also calibrate your list with some of those wider extracts like D shapes, wider secures like D shapes or B shapes for the Sentinels? Do they still fight on those?
So I don't have like a Medusa or a Fury Jr. I've considered them, but I'm kind of happy where things are. It would probably be pretty helpful for that first turn, but I value a lot of the other slots that I'm using. Like Hood and Winter Soldier, I think are pretty well locked up. I like Cat in there for the single extracts, and I think that Under Your Skin on Black Cat or on Black Panther is kind of ridiculous. Just giving them flight and immunity to bleed and poison it's really the flight can be pretty obnoxious. But They might need to be in there instead of cat. I'm coming from Web Warrior, so I'm still kind of leaning towards a semi-control mindset when I come over. As for B shapes, I think Cassandra Nova is actually like that's the one deployment that I play her because I think that she's like a really good turret on B shapes. But I haven't played her enough really to say that with any conviction. And Medusa or a Fury Junior might be better in that slot. The D shapes, I think, aren't as big of a problem because the Sentinels, being big bases, can double move between them, and because they have the power gen at the end of the round, they've always got a restraint cable online. So I can just always double move and pull somebody off. And yeah, you're not doing a lot of damage then, but it's pretty obnoxious to be able to just kind of wait and do that. I mean, coming from Web Warriors, that's kind of your game plan. So
I was going to say, you're using him as a big giant Gwen.
Yep. Yep, exactly.
Excellent. Look, I mean, I could probably pick your brains all over the place, but in one of your previous answers, I was just going to throw out the other thing. You said 1 damage and you get that restraint cable online turn 1. Have you used Wong or Advanced R&D to do that without having to roll a dice?
No, I don't think Advanced R&D is worth the slot. Wong might be. I don't really take Bullseye too much, so it might be worth like testing out. But I don't think. I don't know, with the healing, like Wong might be good in there, and some of the status removal. So it probably bears looking into, but it's just like I said, I'm kind of like half in, 1 foot in damage and 1 foot in control with the list, and I need to just commit to 1 probably.
Look, it was great to see it on the table. It was great to see. I mean, you guys played some really good Marvel, and it was. Sometimes you can get really good Marvel that isn't particularly entertaining to watch, but I certainly was enthralled the whole way. Some big swings back and forth, and kept us on the edge of the seat, just sort of wondering if the comeback might be on. There's probably a few people very tired from watching the Australian soccer this morning, and I'm sure that those people who've dug deep and come and watched this evening have probably enjoyed it. Maybe not quite as much, but still, thank you so much for a really high quality game, guys.
Yeah, thanks, gents.
Yeah,
It's been really great to watch. And again, congratulations, Hellcannon, on a great showcase of an underappreciated affiliation. And again, thanks for coming on. And Phil, brilliant work, mate. Well done. Congratulations. And best of luck going into the cut.
Yeah, thanks very much. And thanks, Hellcannon. You were a hell of an opponent. And I had my heart in my mouth and honestly thought you had won that game prior to that last turn.
Yeah,
that
no.
big moment when you dazed Malekith probably was the worst result for you. Is that right, Hellcannon?
Yeah, I talked about it with Phil. I was like, I was actually hoping to leave you at 1 or 2 health. Like that, I think that I have a much better chance if I leave him at 1 or 2 health, and then the cube stays on the next round.
Excellent. All right, boys, we'll finish up there. Thanks so much. I'll be updating the video, uploading the video a little bit later today. But thanks again.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks again,
thanks for the game, Phil. It was good.